गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। Yesterday we had a tremendous discussion on Z's bluster on the 75th anniversary of the PRC or the National Day of the PRC. And the second part of the story is how do you assess China's national power? And to do this assessment, I have with me one of the best persons who can do it. That is General Rajiv Narayanan. First, let me welcome him. Rajiv, good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot. Pleasure to have you back here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words. Yes, indeed. And it was really all bluster like you had discussed yesterday. The best part I liked was the rebuttal from the Taiwanese president. They
Yeah,
celebrated their 113th anniversary and they said,
yeah.
"You cannot be my motherland.
Uh,
ROC is your motherland because you're
Motherland.
75th, we are 113th."
Yeah.
That means they are
Yeah,
eyeing that थोड़ा chaos होगा तो
yeah.
हम जा सकते हैं
पकड़
वहां.
लेंगे, पकड़ लेंगे. There, he actually has opened a door. You're right.
He's opened the door.
Lachingte has opened a door.
Yes.
Right. Now, let me, before I start, I'd like to, welcome a few members who recently joined me. And the first member who I have to welcome is Rajiv Narayanan. Thanks a lot, Rajiv, for joining us as a member.
Actually, my fault. I thought I had joined. Till one day when I looked at it, यार क्या मेरे को बाकी नहीं मिल रहा. Then I noticed, oh, I have not joined. I immediately
Right.
nonsense because
And
I
so,
used to get my notification.
yeah. And
Oh,
so I request everyone to take the lead from the Rajiv Narayanan, more join in. I also welcome Arunachal, who's joined us back. He went off for a period. Thanks a lot. And Ketan Kangane, who's joined us new, and Shankar Sharma, who's also joined us new. Thanks a lot to all of you. Some members are still there, which I probably have not covered. Vambred, thank you. Vipul Garg also joins us. Thank you. And Abhishek Yadav also thank you for joining. Right. With this, let's get on to our subject proper. Wait a minute. Yeah. What we're going to talk of. Yesterday when we did the discussion, one very interesting thing came up, which the lady Antara Ghoshal Singh said. She says in China there's a discussion, and that discussion is about. She calls it uh, 5 agreements and 3 disagreements. So what are the 5 agreements? All the 5 agreements in various forms are about there's something wrong with China. Okay, in some way, either the property, this, that, 5 disagreements. There are 5 agreements. There are 5 agreements about China in China, which all say that there is something wrong in China that they're agreed on. What do they don't agree on? What they don't agree on is how to get out of it. All their 3 agreements are they don't know how to get out of the problem in which they are. And that was to me a very interesting thing. So I thought I'll share it with all of you. And there's a sense of despondency and pessimism in China. And I'm putting the cart before the horse when we talk of assessment of China's national power. With this, I'll defer the floor to Rajiv. Rajiv, it's all yours.
sure, sir. When in this, like I have also said in number of my talks, the West looks at national power only at three verticals. That is economy, diplomacy, and military power. It was Tang Xiaoping in 85 who brought in the fourth vertical of human resource. A number of scholars, different scholars, even the West, when you look at three verticals, there are sub verticals within that where they assess and they give out various matrices and that is weightage for them, do their analysis. But the one fact is very clear that human vertical is one vertical. And the reason why he brought in the human vertical is you everything else, whether you take diplomacy, whether you take economy, whether you take military, it all devolves on that human resource. It is the man who's providing you that. If you subvert the human resource, the other three uh, gradually also get subverted. So if you break that human resource, the other three also start weakening. And now suddenly that is what they were championing, which was what their unrestricted warfare and the three warfares, which is a subset of that, all about. But under Xi Jinping, now all the crows of these things have come home to roost.
Come on, Bruce.
Because it's the human vertical. Now there is a problem. We'll discuss
Problem.
those step by step. So if we could go
Yeah.
to the slides. Yeah. So this is, we are assessing the PRC stuff. So that's why I try and avoid using the word China, because I have no grouse with the Chinese people per se, but it is the People's Republic of China, which is controlled by the CPC, which has the problem. And the people of China are suffering for that. So when we look at that economy, I just basically look at overall economy, the resources, food, energy, diplomacy, military, both. Geography in both is very important, because that's why it is diplomacy. When you look at it, is geopolitics, it is geostrategy, there is geography there. Military without geography, it plays a major part, the geography of the land. Human resource, we look at demography and the motivation, morale. And one thing which they have been successful to some extent is STEM and the critical technology.
Yeah.
So economy, I call it an irredeemable slide. Why? What are the strengths? So just, I'm not doing a total net assessment, but basically what you do, a SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
In brief, strength. But one thing is there, it's still a major global supply chain hub. High tech is going down, but as far as the medium and low tech are concerned, it's still a major supply chain hub. You'll be surprised to know, sir, that the normal zipper that you put on your jackets, your trousers, your suitcases everywhere, 25 to 30% of the global zippers are made in China. Comes from there. That's why a lot of my talks, when I talk about Indian economy, I keep saying, don't miss the wood for the trees. ठीक है, high tech पे concentrate कर रहे हो. Low and medium tech also has a huge market. That is where he has. And he is also, he has major issue is, he has at the moment the control over global rare earth. Almost over 90% of the rare earths found wherever in the world are controlled by the Chinese. They have the controlling stakes there. And he can control that and decide how to give, what not to give. And this is required for your new evolving and emerging technologies, the new technologies, high-tech technologies that you get. People are looking at alternate things out there, but at the moment he has that. Electronic system and subsystems is the major hub for medium and low tech. Apologies for the spelling. And he has made some major inroads into the ASEAN market to balance off the fact that he's not getting much market now in Europe and US. So he's making inroads. ASEAN is getting worried about it, but at the moment they have not done much. What are the weaknesses? Pre-COVID, he thought that the global economy is rising and the demands will continue to rise in the US and the West. He went into overdrive and got overcapacity. Now that overcapacity is not delivering him anything and he has an issue. And along with that comes the declining exports to the US and the West. There is increasing food and energy dependencies. Food, like General Shankar, so you also have been talking about it, the environment challenge that he has every year. He has a spate of floods and drought. So when he has floods on the Yellow River, there is drought along the Yangtze to the south. And he has floods along the Yangtze River, he has droughts towards the north. And he has not yet been able to control that. As a result, his dependencies for food have increased. In any case, he was a food dependent country. It was not independent. and energy dependencies are also rising. The realty sector, which controlled a third of his GDP, has collapsed. So now that's a very big impact, and they're still juggling and struggling how to manage that. Now, instead of permitting the economy to develop on its own, that is, providing space for private players, which Mao had strangled, and Deng Xiaoping, Chiang Zemin, Hu Jintao in their way had brought in little bit of opening. Xi Jinping has gone back to the centralized state control. In fact, the party controls everything today, and that has strangled the growth. So, as a result, the complete economic structure, if you say, yeah, it's caught between the devil and the deep sea. There was a complete tight control. You opened up a little, you're going back to tight control, so you don't know where to go. And that is evident in what was the two press conferences that they had on doing up their economy after the Politburo Standing Committee. So in military, we say you never reinforce a failure. Now, if your big infrastructure construction was a failure today, like the BRI also, you're again attempting huge infrastructure, state infrastructure in investment in that to the tune of 200 billion yuan. And do what? The returns are not coming. So this gives opportunities and threats to our country. So this you find there is a strategic window to shift the major global supply chain hub towards Bharat. The lesson from COVID is they're not going to make you the supply chain. You could become a major supply chain hub because they have also learned to diversify. Now, this is, I would give you max decade and a half to 2 decades. This is the window you have. Whatever you have to do it within this window. Otherwise, you miss the bus. And when you do this, you don't do the mistake of what the Chinese did. So there has to be an equitable and balanced spread of growth over all states. He's only developed his eastern seaboard and forgotten all the rest. And you have to make sure there is a better urban and rural growth, a balance there, so that there is the difference is not very high. What has happened today in China is there is a reverse migration. Earlier, people were migrating from the rural to the urban because there was nothing in the rural. Today, there is a reverse migration going back from urban to the rural, that at least our grandparents have a small plot. If not anything, at least we'll have at least 1.5 meals to eat. There is nothing here in the urban state. So one thing which is happening in India, which has started, is that your companies have started targeting the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities. I would prefer more of that, and you have a balanced growth. I look at it from good, the MNC conglomerates which survive through the, even if it is by a family, like if you look at Rothschilds in Europe, family of bankers and money, they are split across everywhere. What have they done to still hold control? Cross investments. Each branch has cross investment into the other branch. So it's a web of cross investment. You'll never try to cut each other. That is how you need to bring the states together. If I have the main integrating plant in one state, use the neighboring states also to integrate with you as ancillaries, and vice versa. The moment you have this kind of integration, you will find the interstate rivalry going down, and that is better for the country. What are the threats? In the hurry to get better in growth, you might replicate the PRC's follies. You have your internal and external challenges, security challenges. We have spoken about it earlier quite a lot. You have the challenges from the fifth columnists who are in pay of PRC, who will do it. You still have a skewed growth profile. All states are not growing well, and there is a big gap between the rural and urban, and there is today still a lack of institutional support to the MSMEs. Now, you need that because the MSMEs not only provide the economic heft to your high tech, it is also the mother of all your medium and low tech technologies. Like if I take high tech, whatever high tech I might make, the technology may be high. I need my nuts, bolts, and various other things to put it in place, which comes from the MSMEs and the medium and low tech. So we have to be very careful of these. While in
Yeah, I just want to highlight what you said. In our hurry to grow, the very important point that we shouldn't replicate PRC. The thing is that many people start comparing India with China, within India and outside China. And then you want to say, oh, he has done so much, we have not done so much. Right? And people from outside want you to do what China has done. And that is disaster for us. If we do what China has done, it is complete disaster. Remember,
I just हाँ,
yeah,
नहीं
go
आप
ahead, go
बोलो
ahead.
उसके बाद.
We must remember, China grew with a lot of tailwinds behind it. Right? The moment headwinds are hitting it, it is falling. We have always grown it with headwinds. That's why our growth has been slow. It is better to remain that way than to assume the tailwinds of China and then regret later. Yeah,
Like one example about the lack of institutional support for MSMEs. Your APIs are coming from China.
China.
API is an MSME. The raw material goes from there, by the way, from here. Quite a lot of a sizable chunk of raw material for our APIs goes from here. If the raw material is available, if there was institutional support for MSMEs, your APIs would have been made in India. A lot of so there are plenty of such things which, if the MSMEs are given that environment and the hand holding and the support, you will find that a lot of things you will be able to bring it. Your dependency on China will reduce.
Yeah. There's one
You're
question
only
which has come,
uh,
on this business of, let me put it because I want to, there's a thing which all these wrong notions, you might as well clarify it now. If the global headwinds become tailwinds, can India replicate 10 to 15% growth that China had managed in the 90s and 2000s? Why and why not? Look, it's not a matter of headwinds becoming tailwinds and you manage 15% growth. You can't handle 15% growth. Democracies are not designed for 15% growth. Okay, you'll have strikes, you'll have this, you'll have that, you'll have floods, you'll have tu मैं मैं, you'll have elections. वो सब चाइना में नहीं होता. China में the chap says you have to grow at this rate, you grow at that rate. Here it doesn't happen. So first and foremost, it should not happen that way, because then if you propel yourself in that direction, without, there'll be huge social problems and environmental problems. In our country, it is good that we debate on a few environmental issues,
as
take
long
time
as
and grow slower.
as long as we are growing at 7 to 8% growth rate annually, people should be happy.
Happy.
You are going up and you will go up. And I would also stick my neck out and add that what you have asked for of becoming tailwinds is hypothetical. It will never be tailwinds for India.
Yeah. No one will allow you to grow that way.
Grow that way. It will never be tailwinds because we've always said strategic autonomy. So it will never be tailwinds. So these are the things that what we have discussed, that the Asian Society Policy Institute NDRC press conference, the National Development and Reform Commission, underwhelms the market because they have never said what they're going to do. And one of the top economists has said you require 1.4 trillion injection for recovery, which they are hesitating. They don't want to do. So the double 100 billion yuan investment, it's big budget. a big infrastructure. What is this infrastructure? They have not said. Which is the investment plan? And they have said they will give it from the 2025 budget. That will come after March 2025. So what happens in this intervening period from now to March? So, like I said, reinforcing failure. BRI, there's no returns. And add that to the declining export order and collapsing industry. Then what do you do?
Yeah, there's another major issue in this I want to add is that look, in China, the communists will never give stimulus where money goes into the hands of the people. If money goes into the hands of the people and they become well off, they will start showing eyes towards the Communist Party. And there the control goes. One of the reasons why Xi Jinping went back to his Mao antics and everything was as people became better off, richer, and well to do, the Communist Party of China was losing control over the country. If you analyze China as a whole, it is a rich state with poor people. That if that changes, the Communist Party of China will go out of power. And that is not acceptable to Xi Jinping and his cohorts.
That I think is very common of all communist countries.
All,
The
all communist countries.
state is rich and the people are poor.
Poor.
Then you come to diplomacy. It's the bane of the forked tongue. They always speak with a forked tongue, meaning whatever he says has two meanings. But they still have some strengths. The basic strength is there is a strategic continuum of their policies. They have, at one time, they have identified for the growth of China and for the rejuvenation, this is how the diplomacy will be done. That policy is followed. It doesn't change, unlike in a democratic country when another party comes to power at the center, the policies change. There is a total, under Xi Jingping now, there is a totally centralized decision making. And they are working toward, all the policies were working towards achieving the China dream, the Tianxia. And they had a big convergence of diplomacy and geoeconomics, where diplomatically they would squeeze the country to abide by their diplomatic policies. What's the weakness? Post Wuhan, they went into overdrive of wolf diplomacy, trying to become very aggressive. That blowback has started. Then is slowly, when people started seeing, because when China executes any project, only 5 to 7% is local. Rest everything he brings as labor. The Chinese come from mainland China, the materials come. When they have interacted with the people, or rather the people have interacted with the Chinese, they found a very condescending attitude of the Chinese against them. The respect was not there. And that is where this gained traction of the concept of the vassals, allied barbarians, and barbarians. And you have books written on that, which brings it out as their view of the world. And the depth diplomacy used in BRI, where they squeezed out the nations completely. And they were poor nations, LDCs, who fell for the trap. So there has become a big loss of trust in the manner in which Djibouti was squeezed, Vadar is taken over, and especially Hambantota, Kyaphu. Now, that has led to a big lack of trust for the Chinese. So, what are the opportunities? You are becoming the voice of global South, but I would tread cautiously. Vishwa Bandhu, global friend, try to be, I have said Bahukshetriya Bandhu first, means multi-region. Means in your extended neighborhood, उसको पहले देख लो, उनके दोस्त बन जाओ. Don't step off towards the globe, because our to stand with them and to be with them, they will look up towards you for help, and a lot of times is financial help, like the manner in which you are holding Sri Lanka's hand and given something now to the Maldives when he has come begging and begging, apologizing and everything. So your basket is also limited. You don't have that much deep as what China used to have. So that is why I'm saying, यार विश्व बाद में देखो, पहले अपने immediate neighborhood, extended neighborhood. That's why I've said बहु क्षेत्रीय, and re-energize your ancient cultural and trade links with the extended neighborhood, which is an ongoing process. That is the big opportunity, because in this region around you, Indian Ocean littorals and everything, uh, China is facing a pushback, and there is a type of a void that the West is also not that much present out there. So that is the void that you can make use of. Threats, always the delivery. Many a slip between the cup and the lip, and the most famous Kaladan project is still ongoing. Just Sitwe ko jana. The
In fact,
most
every
important,
all our neighbors feel that India promises, but
can't deliver.
most of the time it can't deliver.
Then there is a still, while it has improved a bit, but there is a lack of vision for military diplomacy. Military diplomacy makes a major case in our extended neighborhood, and we still are struggling forward with it. Yes, our sales and all have started, but are we using it intelligently? So the military diplomacy factor has to come in, and it needs to become part of the syllabus in the Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy and in the Foreign Service Institute, where the foreign service officers are taught. They are not yet taught military diplomacy. They speak about it now more and more, but they're not taught about it. The immediate neighborhood itself is a opportunity as well as a threat, because they are collapsing. Their economies are collapsing. And where will they run to? Like take Bangladesh today. Three sides is India. Small land corridor about 80-90 kilometers is Myanmar. Rest is Bay of Bengal. If they collapse, where will the people run? So these are the kind of threats you have to be aware of and plan and see what can be done. And with our uh, strategic autonomy and the US and the West also embroiled in your immediate neighborhood, it's a tightrope walk that you have to do, because you also need certain assistance in technology and other things from the West. So this is a tightrope walk that you need to do. So if there's anything else you would like to add.
No, no, no. Go ahead.
Now the PLA, the inabilities, the incompatibilities, the gaps, the doubts, the cannots, the self-doubts, these are all been coming about. So what are the strengths? Unity of command to some extent, but it has its problem also, because the top man is the one, Shi Jingping, who calls the shots. But they do have an integrated military strategy, which is their war zone campaign. That has not changed. And we are yet to enunciate our integrated military strategy. They have pushed towards a focused capability development. In the late 90s, mid to late 90s, they had done over a period of 2 to 3 years a series of discussions, seminars, and made their seminal authors write about future threats, and finalized 6 combats: cyber warfare, AI, automation, space, long range vectors. And if you look at where from there under from Hu Jintao till today, their focus on capability development and funding has gone towards that. Okay. Then they have their mastery on the gray zone campaigns under unrestricted warfare, and they have a sheer size. What is the weakness? 20% conscript and another 20 to 30% are contract soldiers. They made it contract 10 years, 10 years, 10 years after the conscription, so that the load on pensions on the state reduces and the pensions have to be given by the provinces. But a conscript and a contract soldier doesn't win you war, especially the future wars where the technology will be quite high. Number two, when you're looking at future wars, there are fleeting opportunities. You need a directive style of command where you can tell your intentions, and the junior leader and the commander is free to function within that and fight in whichever manner he can. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Today, there is a total autocratic style of command where micromanagement is done by the CMC with Shi Jingping, and he decides how to fight. You can't fight that way. If they're going to look back, and that was the cannots where he said that a person cannot read the situation, he cannot order, he cannot deploy his troops, he cannot take grasp the fleeting
Decisions.
opportunities, and he doesn't understand the higher commander's intentions. Now, that's what a leadership is all about. But you have killed it by the autocratic style of command. Mao was autocratic. You had about 2-3 decades where you could do something. Now, suddenly, you've gone back to autocratic. So, how do you fight? Size is fine, but if you don't have trained troops behind that platform, size is of no value. I may have 8,000 aircrafts, but if I don't have trained pilots and trainers to train the pilots, what will I do with those 8,000 aircrafts when I don't have trained pilots? Then there is a big lack of morale. There are a lot of purges going on. And now, the latest which has happened, we all know that Tai Chi and Wang Huning and Li Qiang and Mao's wife Peng Liyuan had taken control as a new gang of four within the party. Chang Yuzhia has started taking control of the PLA and cutting out Xi Jinping completely. Now, the major changes that have taken place, I'll just read out certain names. There was one person, for 12 years, he has been in the CMC, like Tai Chi has been in the general office of the party. Zhong Shaojun has been in the general office and the chairman's office for 12 years. He was a civilian actually, who was brought in here by Xi Jinping. He has been kicked out from there and he has been sent to the military school to train officers and men. He's been removed from there. And he's been replaced by a Lieutenant General, Fang Yongjiang, who is ex-political commissar with the Southern Theatre Command. He has been moved here. This man is Chang Yuzhia's man. Next, the director of reform, Qin Shengxiang, again a Xi Jinping. When I say Xi Jinping man, means they were from Fujian. Like you had the Zhejiang faction, there is the Fujian faction also in the Politburo. These two boys were from Fujian. He's been placed under investigation. He was there, then he had moved as the political commissar of the Navy. He retired last year, now he's been placed under investigation. The third one is somebody who was part of the CDCI, the Discipline and Investigation Commission, Chen Guoqiang. He has been moved to the technical school to train recruits. He is the one who oversaw all these purchases. I think Chang Yuzhia is hitting back at Xi, especially for Li Shangfu. Li Shangfu has been Chang Yuzhia's boy, and he has taken him all over wherever he has gone. And Chang Yuzhia and Hu Weidong, who's the other vice chairman, have a lot of standing in the
PMC.
PLA. Okay. Around July, August, we had found the two theater commanders who were moved out. The Central Theater Commander has not yet been nominated, who's been moved out. The Northern Theater Commander who's been removed, and the new Theater Commander was placed there. The another old Northern Theater Commander who was there before the Wang Qiang, who was there, who has been removed now, was actually removed by Shi Jingping and placed as the PLA Ground Force Commander. And that chap was Chang Yujia's boy. So now what has happened is Chang Yujia, the political commissar who's been placed in Central Theater Command, which is responsible for the defense of Beijing, is Chang Yujia's chap. So you have Northern, Central, and Southern, three, who are now Chang Yujia's chaps. Eastern Theater is still with the person there is still Xi Jinping's man. Western Theater Command, as per the chatter I'm hearing, they're saying it's NFA. The kind of problems that Xi Jinping has created with India, that chap will have no role to play as far as Beijing is concerned. He can't move any troops. Everything is deployed against us. He had two group armies, one group army already deployed on the LAC, the three brigades of Tibet military district deployed. Out of the four divisions that were there, two divisions in Urumqi running the re-education camps, two divisions deployed in eastern Ladakh. He has nothing left to do anything in Beijing. So Xi Jinping is left only with the Eastern Theater Commander, who is well away from there. And with all the aggressions that are taking place in the South China Sea, I wonder how he will going to react. Now, Xi Jinping should be worried because the Central Theater and Northern Theater are relatively uncommitted. And that has been taken control of by Chang Yujia over the last month. So I thought I need to put it here. This becomes a major weakness that there is factionalism
there is division within PLA and huge divisions within PLA. So when 2 months back we said, is Xi Jinping being sidelined and all that, it's coming true now.
It's coming.
It's coming true that he is being sidelined. His power is being cut off. Now, what happens if his power is being cut off? He will be cut off. Even politically, he'll be undercut. Yes. The interrelationship between the PLA and the CMC and the Politburo and the CCP is something one has to understand in this entire construct. If the PLA and the CMC don't toe the party line, then Mr. Xi Jinping is in big problems. And this has been the case with China always. And every time, say, Deng Xiaoping, even after Deng Xiaoping retired, he remained CMC chairman and controlled his Jiang Zemin through the PLA. Same thing Jiang Zemin did later when he had to control Hu Jintao. Abhi tak, whatever Xi Jinping has done, he is shot over everyone because he was controlling both. Now we see that his control over CMC is not that big, that strong.
In Politburo,
please.
In Politburo, there are two main factions. There were a total of 7 factions in the Politburo, out of which the military-industrial complex faction, led by Li Shangfu, was supported by Chang Yujia. Li Shangfu has been sidelined. Now what we see is Zhejiang and Fujian faction, that is about 7 members. And add one more, Wang Huning, there are 8. These have ganged up together out of 23. Now it remains to be seen. I'm sure the balance would now join up behind Chang Yujia, because like Mao said, power flows from the barrel of the gun.
The gun.
And if the gun is with Chang Yujia and Hu Wedong, I don't think the Politburo or the CPC will be able to do much.
Yeah.
So
there's another point I wanted to bring out. You see, Narayanan very clearly said size matters, the last point of strength, modern equipment, very clear procurement line, all that. But there is a weakness in that also. The weakness is that you get the best of equipment and you're using conscript to handle them.
That's what
You
I
can't
mentioned, sir.
get,
Size
yeah,
versus trained troops.
I
The
yeah,
weakness.
weakness. The bigger problem is that this costly equipment, if it goes bad, you will have to replace it. Does China have the economic wherewithal to replace it and retain this kind of equipment over a period of time is a big question which one has to ask everyone today. Because you have old equipment, you've taken it out. Old equipment is easy to maintain, cheap to hold. But new equipment now is very costly, it's delicate, it's fragile, it's not battle tested, right? And the replacements and repair is costly. So the cost for the PLA as days go by will become very heavy. And my guess is that they'll not be able to afford it. With the given the state of their economy.
You're very right. So, in this, what opportunities you have? Like I said before, max 2 decades is your opportunity. You need a focused modernization and a capability development towards an integrated strategy. Modernization just for modernization's state or capability, just to gain a capability, means nothing. You got to be very clear, what is my strategy, how am I going to fight, and for that I need this capability. Next, we all talk about theater commands, fine, that's okay. At the operational tactical level, bhai sahab, evolve your structures. Are you still going to form the same organization and table of equipment for your units and your brigades and your divisions and your corps of what you were fighting earlier? Or now your critical technologies and other things that you're bringing brings a new development into the table of how you are going to fight. So what kind of structures in the units are you going to have, whether it be an infantry battalion, an armored regiment, a mech battalion, an artillery unit? Are you still going for OPs and other things? Do you still need that much more? Do you think the tanks and the infantry need to have some special op companies or special op squadrons? There is something more which is these technologies are bringing to the table. Can you go and fight battles with the same battle procedures that you were fighting earlier? You got to evolve your
But
battle procedures also now. What you see outside in Ukraine also, and even in Gaza, you radiate anything or you see anything, you'll get destroyed. So, how do you protect and provide an envelope for yourself, an umbrella within which you can go? In a few talks I had mentioned, we talk of local favorable air situation and favorable air situation. I think now you need to look at local favorable multi-domain situation
situation.
or a favorable multi-domain situation. The threats are coming multiple domains. Now, all these, when you need to evolve, nobody is going to give you extra boots. You don't need extra boots. The old combat ratios or fighting ratios that we talk about will go down the drain because now you're looking at more and more firepower. When you look at more and more firepower, I don't need that kind of bayonet strength. Then what do I do? So now you need to start debating on these and finding out what kind of structures I need on ground and how do I fight? What battle procedures I do. Fine, let the people at the higher headquarters debate and discuss what the theater command should look like. The cutting edge has got nothing to do with theater command. The cutting edge is here at operational and tactical levels. Please get your structures here in place correctly. The major threats that I see, bureaucratic delays, your DPP, everything goes to properly. There are 13 steps. It takes about 2 to 3 months in each step. 39 months if everything goes properly. That is 3.5 years. Almost 3.5 years. If there are delays, 4 to 5 years. The way technology is evolving, by the time you have cleared it, by the time the equipment start coming in, it's already obsolete. You will look at, so your procurement procedures have to be in place for this. And you need, I don't need technical specialists in the decision making. Yes, I do need their support. I need technically capable people who understand technology, who can grasp technology. They are needed. And you have to work out how to sort out all these procurement processes, because there are a whole lot of people in this bureaucratic chain who are not technically qualified. And by technically qualified, I'm not talking of technical specialists. Technically qualified, understand technology. They're not there. And that is why the delay, because they keep sending you for observations. Like I said earlier, you must modernize to an integrated strategy, not just modernize. You could have disruptions in the defense industry, which will impact your modernization. Because after all, you're a democracy. There are labor unions there. You will have problems there. And are we looking at a change in our PME? Technology is coming. The man there has to grasp the technology. Whatever technology is seeping in, like Shankar has also been telling, that everything doesn't need to come down to the tactical level. At the tactical and operational level, give only that much that is going to help you win the next war. But for even that, at various levels, as you go up, higher technology is, as you go to division, corps, and command and army headquarters and the CDS headquarters, the level of technology increases. Are we going through, and are the people being trained and be qualified to understand this technology? Only then they can grasp the technology. If not, then modernization will take you nowhere. Then you come to the human resource, from Tangping to Bailan to Ranshu. See, Tangping, a lot of my generation people will understand. Uh, it's There was a concept by the trade unions called work to rule. Means he'll come at 9 o'clock and leave dot at 5 o'clock. Whatever is his charter, exactly he is going to do that within that day. Nothing more, nothing less. If the work is not finished at 5 o'clock, he could not be interested. He'll drop his pen, push back home, and come the next day. And he's not available for anything. Bailan is rated rot. He'll come. He's not going to work. He'll work whatever he can, whatever he thinks. And may not come to work also. Run Shui is running away. And we'll come to that. Strengths, yes, they have been able to inculcate a sense of nationalism in people. How far it will help, I really don't know. They have a very deep control on the diaspora. Their MSS is all over on the globe where they have their diaspora, and they have their policing units also placed out there undercover, and they control the diaspora. Now they threaten them also. Like latest is 3 of the leading scientists from USA are going back to China. They have skill in emerging, evolving, and disruptive technologies. They do have the skills. Let's grant them that. And cyber warfare, they have tremendous skills, which they have been developing for so many years. Thousands of the students go for STEM training to the US and the West. That has not changed. They're still going. Okay. Weakness, demographic decline. The demography is collapsing. The people, like I said, Tangping, Bailan, Ranch, were demotivated and demoralized youth. Youth is the future of the nation. If he's demoralized, then what is the future left for him? So the nationalism doesn't work on a demotivated and demoralized youth, because there is lack of job opportunities. Youth are very restive, but it appears they lack some leadership qualities. Otherwise, they would have got up together in groups. And they are fleeing from China as emigres, not dissidents. What happened after Tiananmen was you had dissidents and you had emigres. The dissidents would speak ill of China. Here they are running as emigres. That means they hope at some time to get back, and they don't want the state to get after the family. So At the moment, who are running away, they are not dissidents. What are the opportunities? We have a demographic dividend, so we need to use it wisely. So you have to invest in a balanced skill development for the youth. They are motivated and energetic youth. Leadership is there, but this is always a double-edged sword. So that is where the threats come from. Subversion of youth, lack of Indianness or Bharatiyata. Do you feel for the country? If you don't feel for the country, you'll push away. There has to be overall a balance between security, skill development, and economic growth. Unless you maintain all these, you will not get your economic growth. You can't say that I will develop economy and then I will develop my security apparatus. It doesn't happen. Like mentioned earlier by General Shankar, you're always facing headwinds. You have security challenges. So you cannot afford to cut down on your investments in security. You cannot afford to overlook your skill development. Like I said, demographic dividend is a double-edged weapon. If you don't use it wisely, then people will get submerged. And you have a lack of proper environment for the startups and innovators where all these youth get involved. You need to develop that environment further. So this is the classic case that the babies are going down and the old are going up. And a large number of primary schools and pre-primary schools, thousands of them have shut. Means 20 years down the line, that labor is not available. I would say approximately 18 to 20 years down the line, that labor is not available. And most of these are getting converted to health service,
Nursing homes.
which gives you a classic indicator of what is happening there. This is where it comes. 25 to 64. Okay. It's a slide. All this they thought will happen around 2050. It has happened now itself.
Yeah, and these are UN figures.
UN,
These are UN figures, and these are inflated figures. Actual state will be even worse.
Much worse. So at this point, it is showing that the age group up to 25 and 64 are balanced. Now that itself is a major problem, that you have as many old people as you have young. So it becomes a major issue. So this is what the broad age group 25 to 64, what is happening. And you find by 2030 that it will be a big problem for them how to look after the old people. It is aging before it became economically strong. The West became economically strong and then aged. Take Japan, take West, they have an aging problem, but they became economically strong before they aged. Unfortunately, China has aged even before it became economically strong. And they can lay the blame on Deng Xiaoping. He is the one who enforced, literally, like a dictator, totally, the one-child policy. Anyone having a second child, the men were medically castrated, the women had their uterus removed, God knows what all he did. And now they are paying the penalty.
Yeah, a couple of points on this. If you go back, if you see this graph on the left, see the 2023 column. This graph came out last year. They're not bad at this point of time, but already they are panicking. Just think as they go, when 1/3 of their population will be over 60. 1/3. Right? Every third chap you meet on the road in China will be over 60. What will their problems be? Their pension funds are running out. They are not able to give health services. Right? And there's a huge problem. Who will take care of these old people? their health services even now are not good.
No.
So there's a problem which is going to, you know, unfold very fast in front of us as far as China is concerned. It's already happening, and this will come. This is unstoppable. You can't stop aging. You see, that's the thing. I told you these are good figures. The actual figures are even worse. So
Yes,
this is
yes.
one thing which you'll see. Social change in China will be very fast hereafter. And with social change, you know, does the Chinese state have the capacity to look after this economically? Because it will also be impinged economically by this old age.
So the
One,
problem is twofold. In the sense,
yeah,
while it is China is run, PRC is run by the Communist Party. It's not a communist country. So for health and everything, these people have to pay.
pay and pay
There is
heavily.
nothing provided free,
Yeah,
and that's
and
the reason why people are not
yeah,
marrying. Firstly, marrying late and not getting children. And
yeah,
if at best they are able to, they trying to take only one. The problem is that one person has two parents and four grandparents to look after. If he marries, then it becomes 12. The two of them have to look after 12.
12.
Now, where is the money to produce child? That
Yeah,
becomes the 30.
the next point which I want to highlight here is, beyond 2030 to 2040, the slide will be very steep, and they know it. The rate of change of China population will be so steep. All this nonsensical talk which they're talking now will start vanishing. My bet in the next 2 years. And
So,
this is also the window. They also know it that beyond 2030 they will not be able to fight a war. I mean, that's my view. Others might have a different view. But all this nonsense, 2027 will take over Taiwan, yeah, all this bunk. Beyond 2030, they will find it very difficult to fight a war. So whatever wars they have to fight from today to 2030. उसके बाद China बैठ जाएगा. This is what I'm writing and telling everyone. We'll see
already
how
a
it
lot of
goes.
Chinese are already saying that within their country, there's the aged people are one third of their population.
Yeah.
So then comes all these platforms. What we had said that if he has so many platforms, who mans them when he
What do you
doesn't
do?
have boots on the ground? People are not there. So this is certain things which I'd put: job market shrinking, unemployment rate high. Just look at this: the ultra wealthy, that is the billionaires and billionaires, are taking 1 trillion with them. While he states 1 trillion with them, since 2015 they have already placed them in various places, that UAE, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Australia, USA, because from within China they are not able to take it out. So they already placed them there, and that has gone out now. They were using it inside, getting money from there inside, but now that will not come. So approximately 1 trillion US dollars has gone, and top destinations are UAE, US, and Singapore. And the normal middle class person, if he can afford it, is going to Singapore. But the biggest issue is the US also is getting worried about is most of the migrants, illegal migrants who are coming in from Mexico are the Chinese people, the youth, the Chinese youth. That is Run
Yeah.
Shui, Kun Shui. Now, STEM. Yes, they are amongst the leaders. Let's grant them certain things. They are amongst the leaders in AI, quantum, cyber, and space. Yes, but a lot of things ye फेंकते भी हैं. Like today saying that yesterday the report they gave out that we are looking at breaking cyber using quantum. Quantum is still some distance away. They must have started working on how to use it. We have 6 qubits. I think their computer is 8 qubits, if I remember correctly. So it will take a lot of time, but they must have started work on how to use quantum computing into breaking your the cyber
Codes.
codes and other things. So then they take it out. They are very good at data warfare, cyber warfare, cloud. They have a whole lot of patents and innovations. Let's not uh, think low of them. And of course, the because of a top-down approach from the CMC, the military civil academia fusion is enormous. The first lane on any technology here is military. After that, only goes to the civil. But weaknesses. There is a weakening indicated in applied science. Most of their patents are on, like us also, on pure sciences. There appears to be a weakening now in applied sciences. They have a weakening in high-end semiconductors. They're working towards that. Their weakness in additive manufacturing and green energy. Don't get carried away by what they say, we are greening, we are greening, we are greening. The largest importers, which was much more, almost 50% of the global coal, has been imported by China last year.
China.
So don't get carried
In
away
fact,
that I'm making this
no,
and
no,
I'm making.
they had to go back to coal last year. Last
Yes.
year, if you remember, they had tremendous energy shortages. The
Yes.
factories were closing down. So they had to go back to
Go back.
coal-based thermal plants.
Then uh, the problem that comes today at the moment, which was not there before Xi Jinping came and his purges took place, there is a centralized control by non-tech who cannot comprehend applications in the civil domain. So that is the biggest problem they are facing as far as this is concerned. So that is not percolating down towards the civil. What is the opportunity? We must make sure that we have a balance between the applied and pure sciences. Pure sciences is required, but you need to maintain. You have to compete in AI, quantum, cyberspace, additive manufacturing. If you don't compete, you're nowhere. And to compete in AI, you need your cloud, which is a major
Problem.
stumbling block as far as
Major
India.
problem in India.
That is the threat, the lack of data centers. So data security becomes a big challenge. Generalists in the decision making hierarchy. In STEM and critical technology, the decision making overall cannot be somebody who is not technically qualified or technically able. Even if he is not specialist, if he understands, grasps, and understands how it is, it will be good. You cannot have somebody who is an English literature pass sitting on out there taking policy decisions. And lack of support for students for higher education by our own big companies. They donate so much of money to the Ivy League abroad. Why can't you give it here? Why are you expecting everywhere that the state will give? Why? Identify and you start giving money out there and support your students. See, the problem is, it is not that you don't have good students. If you look at the length and breadth of the country, you will get good students, but some of those students cannot afford it, or the family conditions will not permit him to afford it. The moment you start giving scholarships and other things for them and a stipend for living out there, more and more students will come and be able to join. So it's a shout out to the MNCs. What you are contributing towards what the US and the West are doing, charity begins at home. See, this is a figure of 2023, 22, 23. 4.7 million and we have 2.6 million. Are we utilizing this properly? Or are we providing them an environment where he is free and he gets his funds and is able to concentrate and everything? Does he get that kind of support? Or is he all going towards the US and West where they get this kind of environment? And this environment is provided for by the money, funding that comes not just from the state, but from all their big MNCs. That is what I am after. If you don't only look at state, the MNCs should also start doing these things, our own MNCs. So, where is Kuwadi PRC? Where are you headed? Economy is a steep decline, and there is no clear grasp as yet that has emerged from the two press conferences What is the strategy for recovery? There is a gradual isolation diplomatically because of loss of trust. PLA presently at its weakest, lack of faith in itself and low morale, demoralized youth and declining. They are struggling to gain high-end tech to stay relevant in future. Their inner party struggles, inner PLA struggles, and restive youth not good for CPC's control on China. Will it strike out or will it implode due to its entropical challenges? Whichever way it goes, there is going to be a disruption in the global supply chain. And are we prepared for that? Because our dependencies are also there. So what do I see? A PRC collapse is a very likely scenario. Another is PRC opening up again, that he gets sidelined, all these people get sidelined, new person comes on the block and opens up like under Deng. But will he open up too much like USSR and go the glasnost way than perestroika? Perestroika is restructuring your economy. Glasnost is opening up. Will China become democratic? Or the person who replaces Shi Jingping is more ruthless than him in controlling? Really don't know. At the moment, I would say better the devil I know. I don't know who comes. Whichever way in the top three goes, the coming 2 decades are not just critical for PRC, it's also for the globe. It's not that he's going to strike out against you or strike out on his eastern seaboard. So the conflict is here. No, it's a geo-economic impact, because wherever he strikes, your complete dependency on the geo-economic dependencies on the eastern hub, that gets disrupted. So geo-economically, there will be an impact for the world. Are we preparing for that also? It's not just a military threat, it's a geo-economic threat. So you need
Yeah,
to
and
be...
this is a very important point which General Narayanan is making. India needs to be prepared for a disruption from China. And what we are seeing is we are trying to go and get investment from China and get more, which is absolutely contrary to what. Yeah, this is the
So
danger we are entering.
you need to get your Atmanirbharta up and running. And which is where I said your Atmanirbharta comes not from high tech. I'm sorry, I repeat again
It
and
comes from
again.
low tech.
MSMEs, 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 the medium and low tech, they will support your Atmanirbharta. Otherwise, you'll keep going out like you're getting, saying China se ye le lo, usse wo le lo.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. Like if I make a high-tech equipment, I need nuts, bolts, flanges, washers, rubbers, so many things I need which is low-tech. वो कहाँ से आएगा? So that you need to, because I'm not worried about the military impact because I have full faith on our military. I'm worried about the geo-economic impact. And that is where I'm saying to be able to overcome the geo-economic impact of an unstable China. Whether he attacks, doesn't attack, it implodes. Even if it implodes, there will be a geo-economic impact. What you do geostrategically, geopolitically, militarily, when he is imploding, that's a different question altogether. Are you prepared for the geo-economic impact that it's going to have concerning the dependencies that we have? That's the moot point.
Yeah.
And that's your classic slide you gave, sir. How did you go bankrupt? 2 ways: gradually, then suddenly. So he's going gradually, and if he doesn't change and restructure the way he conducts his economy, it will be sudden. And when that happens, there is a geo-economic impact on us, because he's going bankrupt gradually, and my dependencies on him are increasing, and I'm planning to increase that. Got to be careful.
Whenever I discuss China on these lines, on assessing China, I show this slide. This slide comes, and we should never forget this slide.
Yes.
Because The problem with this gradual decline of China is that the floor underneath it is full of lies. You can't trust it. Okay. So in any graph, you try to put a floor down below. China has been trying to put a floor below its decline. So far, it's not been able to do because there's no trust, there's no confidence, there's a lot of pessimism, which I first said in the beginning. I go back to the first thing: 5 agreements and 5 disagreements. There are 3 disagreements. The 5 disagreements are of the fact that China is in trouble. Then the 3 disagreements are they don't know how to get out of it.
They actually will never know how to get out of it because the people who are qualified here sidelined or purged or killed.
Anyway, yeah, there's a big problem with China. We have to understand. You keep looking at China militarily, you're off the track completely.
The bigger problem, I repeat again, sir, is the geo-economic impact it's going to
Yes, no, I have no doubt about it.
work towards reducing your dependencies.
Yeah,
That was all, sir.
yeah. Thanks.